What's up, nerds? Welcome to a new episode of Banter Blitz. I went too fast there. I was too excited in the early beginning, but now I think I've settled down and I'm mentally getting ready to crush all of you, which really is the purpose of this show, to lift my self-confidence by beating players who I outrate by like 1,000 points. That's what keeps me going, let's face it. However, I did a show yesterday. I really wasn't planning to do one today, but there were some technical difficulties, something unheard of in the history of chess24.com. But now we got everything back in the studio. I am very confident that this will be a flawless show, flawless banter. I dressed up, I'm looking all sharp, a little sweaty because it's warm outside. I'm feeling fresh. My English is not really up to speed yet, but long story short, I'll crush you all. Speaking of technically flawless, let me check if anybody out there can hear and see me. Nah, probably not. Let's get going anyway. What do? I forgot how this works. I click on Accept a Challenger, a premium member who challenged me to a 3 or 5 minute game, then I go to crush them. I think I should button up. We got an internal Chess24 briefing that we should show more skin. But I'm really uncomfortable with it. Like, I'm a middle-aged, extremely white man, so not gonna be able to do it. Let's play someone. But whom? Maybe let's warm up by facing Mr. Schachmatt31, whom I will crush, and I consider him nothing but a warm-up opponent. Some offense meant. No, I'm just joking, Schachmatt31. I'm guessing you're 31 years old, or you won your best chess game, ending in checkmate, which Schachmatt means in 31 moves. Those are the possibilities that come to mind. I would advise you against using a number that reflects your current age, because you have to update your username every day. We've talked about this. I'm going with this trendy system 3F3, which I keep saying this about every opening I play, which I haven't studied in detail, blah blah blah. Oh, it's a 3-minute game. I'm gonna have to speed up. See, I'm 20 seconds behind on the clock. One reason that this move order makes some sense is if they go for the King's Indian, you don't yet have to commit this knight to c3, but you can, as strange as it looks, use the other knight, because this knight on g1 sometimes finds it a little hard to find a convenient square. Well, the dude on b1, he can be quite useful. He can go to c4, should he go e6 and e takes d5, or he can maybe go to a3, try to help fight against the b5 break, which is the other typical plan Black has at his disposal. I've been criticized, and rightly so, for having a very strange verbal cadence. Like, normally I pronounce words that don't really deserve being highlighted in that current sentence, but the problem is I never know how I'm going to finish my sentence. I just start saying extremely random things. And sometimes you pronounce a word and then you don't really see the sentence was going that way and you have to start all over again. It's very tough because, it shouldn't be that tough. It's a mess in my brain. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to fix it. Knight b7, we got the structure and we got the thing I was talking about, that this square is available for my knight, which is nice. However, right now the knight could be challenged there by a quick knight b6, so I'll first try to develop some pieces and then I shall go this route. And here you can see normally if white has this knight on c3 already, the other knight is to go to some clumsy square like g3 or whatnot. And what are you going to be able to do on g3? Nothing much, but c4, attacking d6, targeting the b6 square. It's a nice little square. I'm still gonna have to figure out how to deal with knight c4, knight b6, which I don't really want to happen. So maybe what I should do is keep him busy by targeting this pawn with bishop f4 first. Not sure that made a lot of sense, because now I can go knight e5. Yeah, that was a bit of a... Am I allowed to say brain fart? Probably I'm not allowed to say it. So I shall use another word. A bit of a brain malfunction there. Because, yeah, allowing this knight e5 while having my bishop on f4 is really not ideal. And I'm extremely reluctant giving up my lovely bishop pair. Not gonna be able to do it. So I have to think of something. Can't really think of anything. So I'll just make a move. Queen d2. Not very happy with my bishop f4 move, in case I haven't made that abundantly clear. b5, very aggressive. But haven't you watched any of these shows, Schachmat 31? Never give me pawns. I will take them and you're never gonna see them back. It's a bit like... see, that's where we go. I'm starting a sentence now. I'm stuck mid-sentence looking for an analogy. What could you give somebody and never see it back? I don't know. I don't have many possessions, so I never borrow. No, I never lend people stuff. Therefore, not gonna be able to finish the sentence. I don't even like lending pawns because there is no guarantee. Which pawn do you want back? The b2 pawn? I might be able to keep it. So yeah, b5 was a little too optimistic is what I'm trying to say very long-windedly, and he should have played a normal move like bishop d7 with fairly typical structure. Well, now my pieces are active. This knight has done its job, his job, by making it all the way to b5. And I can't see a lot of compensation for the pawn. Of course, the game is far from being over. It will be over in like 34 seconds. No, that's not true. I'm gonna need some thinking time. But I like my chances now. Don't know what to do, but that's a different story. Maybe just pin. Why not a little pin to induce panic in Schachmat 31's heart? Can you induce panic in someone's heart? I don't know, but you can grab pawns. That I do know. 25, 24. Nothing more beautiful than seeing your opponent's time run out and then you have a pre-move, like a recapture. Strategically, it can be nice for black to get rid of the dark squared bishops, but here 2 pawns down and 2 tied up. There's not really a lot of counterplay to hope for. I'll get my king out of the way just so I don't run into any devastating checks on any of these diagonals. This knight is too deep in my camp, so it shall be captured as well. Schachmat is making many sensible moves, but 3 pawns are 3 pawns. Bishop b5, knight b5, queen b2 actually. Being extremely happy that I was winning on time, I might have not paid the attention that this position deserved. And here all of a sudden, this can get a little murky, right? Rook c1 check, bit of a threat. This knight is hanging. So yeah, I might not have played ideally there at the end of the shot clock, but that's what Blitz does to you. That does it to me. Still, I promise to play even better next game. Should I find someone to play with? What? I'm down 0-1 to this guy? How can this even be possible? I thought I crush everybody all the time. Gal Durovsac. I'm sorry for mispronouncing that, which I probably did. FIDE Master 2630. What do I do? Let's go back to my usual crap. I'm not supposed to say crap either. Back to my weapons, like this system, which I've done a video series about. Gal might have studied it though, which would really be unfortunate, because then he could blitz out the next 800 moves, and it looks like that's what he's doing. I have to get him out of book, and in order to do so, I'm gonna have to play the not very strong move, bishop d2. The main line here is castles, and it is more challenging. Bishop d2 allows black to equalize because he grabs the 2 bishops, but it's not a ridiculous move. You still have this bishop going quite strong on this long diagonal, so I do believe it is playable, and I wanted to stop Gal from blitzing out the next 800 moves. That's the problem with publishing all my secrets. People know all my secrets. Anyway, now I gave up the 2 bishops, but I do have this bishop actively placed on this diagonal. Won't be that easy for black to finish development, therefore, yeah, I don't mind my position. I'm not sure I'm better, but it's easier to play with white. For black, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to get his pieces out. Maybe he wants to go e5 to prepare bishop e6, when I'm going to have to think about the way to adjust. Maybe knight e3, intending knight d5. We'll find out eventually. Probably quite quickly. Yeah, he goes e5. It's a very sensible move. What can I do? Knight e3 was the first move that entered my little head, but I'm not sure if that's the best there is. Maybe knight d5. I'll try knight d5, exchange of this dude, and then try to maybe bother this bishop a little bit. Not sure, bishop g4 looks nice and active, but then maybe there's queen e4, targeting e5 and b7. We will never know. Probably we will know. Still think my position is a bit easier to play, But black hasn't done anything wrong, has the 2 bishops, so how bad can it be? Bishop e6 can I take? I like taking pawns, in case you haven't gotten that memo. Don't see why not. Gimme. LPDO, as they say, loose pieces drop off, so I'm very cautious about my rook being unprotected on d5, but I could not see an immediate way for Gal to exploit that. And a pawn is a pawn, all that good stuff. Rook c8, where do I go? I guess here, covering that rook, making it hard for him to play f6, because things could happen on this diagonal. Bishop d6, I can go wherever I want with my horsey. Knight f3, for example, queen e2, rook d6, rook c2, I have rook f1, so that shouldn't work. Yep, nothing wrong with it. Bishop c5 is kind of asking me to play e3, and I shall oblige, because I don't want anything to happen on this diagonal. And I also had to secure the e-pawn sooner or later. Bishop b6, I guess I'll keep coordinating my pieces. Rook d8, all right. Is there tactics? Probably no tactics yet. No need for tactics though, I'm a pawn up. My phone is ringing. I'll call back, I promise. Bit low on time here. The position is very nice for me. I think people wait for me to start playing Banter Blitz and then they call me. No one ever calls me, but you start one harmless game of Banter Blitz and your phone rings non-stop. It is weird, isn't it? And I have to find a way to convert my advantage here. Very distracting. Bit low on time, we both are. My position is much nicer than his position because of the extra pawn and the pressure. But as I said, it still has to be converted. And I have to start speeding up a little bit. So this is me speeding up a little bit. Pawns. Who does not like pawns? I'll allow him 2 checks. But just 2. 3 checks are too much. Under a certain set of rules, 3 checks win the game. Don't want that to happen. As long as the queen covers f2, his counterplay is very, very limited. Well, this pawn is doing a pretty good job surging towards the b8 square. Yeah, no way to prevent that, and therefore Gal resigns. Interesting game where, yeah, I believe he missed that after bishop e6 I can grab the pawn, and he never really got any compensation for it. So that was that. Who's next in line? What about card checking? Might be a little play on words regarding the World Championship challenger Cardchecking, or he's just into card checking. Both of these things are possible. Our friend Cardchecking from the United Kingdom. I will play the Sicilian. Which Sicilian though? Maybe this one. Knight c6. I recently played this, what do they call it? Richter Rouser in a tournament game. Didn't enjoy myself very much. I followed the game Cardchecking versus Caruana. But as I said, it's probably nothing I'm gonna repeat anytime soon. It still does lead to a sharp position. That should be quite playable. f4, I forgot what to do though, which is regrettable. h6 maybe? Looks like Cardchecking is booked up to the eyeballs in the Richter Rouser. Who would have thought? I really don't have a clue. Bishop e7, he can take on f6, then bishop f6, knight takes c6, but after bishop c6, queen d6 takes whatever, long sequence of captures, and in the end I can take his e4 pawn. So he probably shouldn't do that. Takes looks fine, but now I move like queen e1 or queen e3, hinting at e5 seems to be the way to go. I have no idea if this is still theory, but so far nothing too dramatic has happened. So both sides should have playable positions. e5, no e5 I guess I can just take, and he's going down that road which I just mentioned, where I thought I was doing pretty well, because his pawn structure took a bigger hit than my pawn structure during this transaction. With these weaknesses, well, yeah, I can just develop king e7, rook c8 and whatnot, leading to a very pleasant endgame. Rook g1 in order to, I guess, develop this bishop without having g2 hanging. But my position is still quite pleasant. Gotta decide what to do with this dude. Maybe I'll go here. Long decision-making process. Bishop c4, I believe I can just take. And I'm not all that concerned about running into muddy waters here on the king side. Neither g5 nor f5 should be all that threatening. c4 is correct. Trying to keep his pawns around, at least for now. But yeah, I'm slightly better. What else could you hope for out of the opening with black? Being much better, maybe. f5, cardchecking, playing a good game. What do I do? e5 comes to mind. Rook d4 also comes to mind. So many moves coming to mind. So little time. I'll go e5. Why not? It's a passed pawn. g5 I don't like because it doesn't really improve his structure. It just leads to two new weaknesses. I believe he should have gone h4 to prepare that. Well, now, yeah, the difference in pawn structure is quite telling. And as Nigel Short likes to say, it's good to have many islands if you're the Minister of Tourism, but if you're a chess player, you don't want 5 pawn islands. Because pawns that can't defend each other have to rely on outside support, making life a whole lot tougher. So, cardchecking, yeah, he stayed in the game, but he does have his work cut out for him here in this endgame. By the way, does it look weird when I move? I feel like we have to work on the special effects. And we have to work on the pawn grabbing. Rook h8 is asking some very unpleasant questions. Like, how are you planning to defend the h2 pawn without blundering your rook? I believe that question cannot be answered. So big surprise here. It's gonna be a boring technical victory. I play the Sicilian, I'm going for sharp positions, and still the same thing happens. A leopard cannot change its spots. His spots. Why do I keep doing that? I don't know. Mr. Cardchecking. He's saying not looking good, cheers for the game, and resigns. Early resignation, but I do agree that it did look pretty bad because this pawn is falling, I have my e-pawn running, and his pawn structure looks a bit like Swiss cheese. Not that I've ever seen any Swiss cheese, but I'm being told that's how it looks. So thanks for the game, Cardchecking. Who's next in line? What about our Norwegian friend, Jens1102? Which once again makes me want to decipher this number, 1102. Is that your birthday? 11th of February? Is that your rating? No, I don't think you're 1102. Then you wouldn't be 1954 on this site. So I'm going with birthday. Which I believe is smarter than age, because your birthday never changes, I've been told. Unless you're Niklas Huschenbeet and your birthday is on the 29th of February, because that's really only every 4 years, and therefore it changes once in a while. He plays the gioco piano, fashionable line. What do I want to do about it? I'll go with bishop e7. Normally I start with bishop c5, not knight f6, to avoid all these 4 knight g5 shenanigans. But this time around I'll play classically. Bishop e7, d6, knight a5, c5, knight back to c6, see what happens. Bishop e7 looks a little more passive than going bishop c5, but it is actually, in a way, a more aggressive choice, because these bishops remain on the board, there's not going to be any exchanges on e3. So we've seen people doing it, trying to play for a win, including none other than the Norwegian world champion of the world, Magnus Carlsen, who's employed this. Knight a5, now he has to go bishop b5 because you want to keep the bishop alive, and then I'll go a6, b5, c5, leading to a very Spanishy structure. He doesn't go bishop b5, which is a surprise because Bishops are stronger than knights, and one should not just give up bishops without a good reason to do so. So now black is fine, not claiming I'm winning or anything, but the two bishops are a nice long-term trump to have. Even though many people say it's not a good thing to have trump long-term, in this case I am quite happy with my pair of bishops. I'll deploy the first one to e6. I don't really want to take on c4, but Jans 1102 does stop it anyway. Rook e8 intending bishop f8 is another standard maneuver, just in case he goes knight f5. But he goes d4, which is probably a better move. Probably I should have thought about that before it occurred on the board. Didn't do it though, so I'm going to have to think about it now. And I'll react with this very strange looking move. My point is, if he takes bishop takes de5, I can take on f3 and spoil his pawn structure. Well, d5 normally doesn't scare me much in these structures either. I'll just take retreat and then prepare f5, trying to get some counterplay. Even though he does have good pieces for this structure, so maybe I was slightly too optimistic going into this. Now c4, intending c5. We'll see how it goes. I'll go for f5, probably at some point f4. That's a surprise. Not necessarily a bad move, but a surprise. I thought he was going to play on the queen side with c4, f5, f3, make it a bit of a race. f4 I guess I should take. Now my plans changed. The rook on f8 doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. But I'm happy to adjust to the new circumstances. Put my bishop here, go back with the rook to e8, and play the position, enjoying my two bishops. Don't think I'm better. I believe he's actually played interestingly. But I also don't think I'm worse, because I have good squares for my limited number of pieces, so the white space advantage is not really a big concern. And it's not that easy for him to find a plan. Also not sure about c4, even though it is playable, but it does lengthen this bishop's diagonal, giving him a clearer view of what's going on over the board. I blitz bishop g4 without thinking too much about e5. Maybe I should have thought about it a bit. But it's blitz, can't think too much about anything. Don't know what to do. Is this ridiculous? Could be a little ridiculous. Yeah, no clue. Maybe I'll give up one of my hard-earned bishops just for lack of ideas. Not sure this is a good move. He goes gf3, or he should go gf3, which actually strengthens the structure. Queen f3 I'm very happy about, because it allows me to do my thing. Grab pawns and never give them back. gf3 was the way to go. Maybe bishop h4 scared him, but shouldn't have. Then just bishop g3. Well, now it's just a pawn. I like pawns. I'll fix this a-pawn so it can't go to a5. Could be a target in the future after queen d7. Yeah, this position all of a sudden is almost unplayable for white. He's a pawn down, clear targets on e4 and potentially a4. Not a lot of counterplay, weaker king. So, murder she wrote. Jans 1102 is low on time, so he's trying to accelerate, but it did cost him more of his lovely pawns, which I'm always very happy to grab. Okay, I will resist the temptation to grab the pawn on h3, however strong it might have been. But I was taught that one should put like 18 pieces on the opponent's second rank. This is mate now. I'm a bit curious if I blundered earlier. Did I blunder here? I was getting so excited that I kind of forgot about. Forgot is the Grandmaster's word for missed, in case you didn't know. If you miss something, you always say you forgot about it. And I did forget about this check, which could have been quite unpleasant. Looks like I'm still winning. King f7, queen h5, g6. But it is something that one should consider in advance. Here rook f6 or rook f8, and who knows what's going on. So another solid victory on time, spoiled slightly by careless play on my part near the end. And why not stay in Norway and play against, what's his name? Ninja Kiwi17? What's a Ninja Kiwi? Is that like a ninja from New Zealand? I guess that's what it has to be. But why are you Norwegian? Are you a ninja from New Zealand who snuck into Norway without anybody noticing, using your ninja skills, and now you're representing Norway in chess? I'm not sure. Maybe he's still New Zealandish. Is that how you call them? New Zealanders? New Zealandish? Not sure. The only New Zealanders I know are the guys from Flight of the Conchords. It's probably not true either. Before I dig myself a hole here by making untrue statements about New Zealand, I shall give up that train of thought. I'm gonna assume Ninja Kiwi is a Norwegian who enjoys playing classical Sicilians, and who doesn't? Knight f6, not the only move. He could have gone b5. I'll go b5 now, hinting at b4. Gotta be a little careful with these b5 advances, because actually, I believe this could be a problem right here, right now. Sometimes bishop f3 threatening e5 is a little awkward to meet. If I went bishop b7, which looks like the natural move, then e5 is extremely unpleasant. So I'm going to go with knight c6 instead. But e5 still looks like a massive, massive problem. So I've misplayed this, to put it very mildly. And I got lucky that Ninja Kiwi didn't go e5 but rook e1, which gives me a chance to breathe. And now I can stop e5 mechanically by going knight e5. When all of a sudden I have a good position. But don't repeat this at home. b5 was extremely careless. And after e5 instead of rook e1, once again, I would have been in a world of hurt, which is not my favorite world. Bishop f4 does pin me, but doesn't seem to threaten anything really. So, well, I should stop blundering at some point. But I believe I can get away with just playing bishop b7. If this knight needs reinforcements, I can always go d6. I can also think about knight takes f3 followed by e5, but it looks very committal positionally, so as long as it doesn't win a piece, which it wouldn't have because of bishop g3, and I'm pinned on this diagonal, I will not do that. Not sure what Ninja Kiwi17 is gonna come up with. He goes a3, stopping b4. What do I do? Just bishop e7? Why not develop some pieces for a change? This position is all of a sudden very pleasant, because normally white wants to go f4 and e5 long-term in these structures. This bishop f3 made a lot of sense, but it had to be followed up more aggressively by going e5 immediately. Well, now it's much easier for me to get my pieces out. I'll play d6 at a convenient moment when this knight can jump into c4. So it's all good. I guess he has to consider playing bishop e2, intending to play f4. Now, d6, rook d1. I could go knight c4, I could also take on f3, but I don't really see the need to do either of these things. I'll just keep increasing the pressure. Rook c8, hinting at knight c4, followed by knight takes b2. Maybe picking up a pawn, typical tactic in these pawn structures. And I'll leave it to Ninja Kiwi17 to figure it out. He understands there's a lot of heat, and therefore he tries to simplify with bishop e5, which is structurally nice for me, but there might also be a little tactic. And just in case you weren't aware of it, I quite enjoy grabbing pawns. This is a pawn. I'll grab it. I'll pre-move this, because I have a feeling Mr. Kiwi might take on b5. But I would still grab pawn, because knight b5, ab, b takes a3, queen takes c2 is a pawn. That's still probably the best he can do. But of course, it's going to be an uphill battle from here on, because I took one. What's going on in the chat? People are contemplating going premium to join in on the action. Do it, but I will crush you. Just so you know. And some Game of Thrones discussion. Yeah, people don't want spoilers, even though I believe we're now 4 days in. Normally, if you haven't seen it for 4 days, you don't really want to see it. So I believe the cutoff for no spoilers is something like 3 days. Therefore, I wouldn't feel too bad about spoiling things. But I shall respect your wishes, because I'm still so sad about the outcome of that episode that I don't really want to talk about it. It's always the same with Game of Thrones. You get attached to a character, you like his values, his morals, things he's doing, and then they just kill him off. It's very, very sad. As for the game, I'm a pawn up. Ninja Kiwi, I believe, has done pretty well and actually has gotten the maximum he could out of the pretty bad circumstances. But it's still an unpleasant defense for him. My next job is activating my pieces a bit. Just as I say that, I kind of blunder that after rook b5 I can't go rook d2 because there's a check here. So rook b5 is certainly a good move when if I take a3, knight c4, playing very carelessly today. Too cocky, the usual problem. Will I ever get rid of that? Probably not. So, he doesn't take, which is nice for me. Goes rook d1, which looks like a blunder because I can take on e4 amongst other things. Do I want to take on e4? Knight takes, rook d1, bishop d1, knight e4, rook b5. Looks good, but maybe I can do better. And I'm also scared to be checkmated on the back rank, so I thought providing a little luft could be nice. And I'll continue expanding here. I want to go g4, forces bishop to c2, and after, let's say, rook takes b5, g4 takes, bishop e2, rook c2 did look like it might pick up some material. At some point, at the very least. Because there are some targets here. Once again, this might have been careless. I'm playing incredibly carelessly. Yeah, I missed many things. I'm starting to get upset at myself. Slightly upset for... Oops, see? Can't even keep the board in place. That's how upset I am. Come on, Jan. Focus a little bit. Just a little bit. How hard can it be? Yeah, I've kind of bungled this because rook d1, bishop d1. I wanted to do something like rook c1, but there's rook b8 check. So this was far, far from ideal. And yeah, I'm a little annoyed at myself. What can I do? I'll still do this, but this is not what the doctor ordered. Bishop e2 is playable, but he could also have gone rook b8, rook takes a8. Guess I'll take here. But now all of a sudden we have an endgame with equal pawns. That really was not my wish. Very sad. I'll try to activate my pieces a bit, but yeah, that was pretty ridiculous what I've done to this lovely position, which didn't do anything to deserve this. No, bishop g4 simplify. No, it doesn't. See, I'm blundering pieces even in my calculations. Knight g3, I could take here. Do I want to do any of those things? I guess I want to take here, go here. How do you take this? Probably pawn takes. With another one of my specialties, a rook endgame. I guess this is winning actually, because these three pawns... Okay, now it's easily winning, but I believe even against other defenses this was a win, because these three pawns will advance quite quickly. And then the white king could end up in a world of hurt. But Ninja Kiwi played a very good game, which, yeah, I kept making more interesting than it should have been by messing around a little bit after reaching a good position. That's what I do, though. So, apologies to Ninja Kiwi. And let's play Coconut. He does have a coconut tree on his profile pic. Where is he from? French Polynesia. Wow. Where is that? Is that next to Australia? I never paid any attention in geography class, so let me find out. French Polynesia. That does sound exotic. Is that in the Caribbean, or is it like where I think it is? Give me a map. Maps. What kind of map is this? I have to zoom out. Looks like there's nothing nearby. Pacific? Okay. It's not where I thought it was at all. South America, North America. That is the Caribbean, right? Does look nice. I'm sure you have good weather over there. And before I lose on time looking up where coconut is from, I should make some moves. That's cool though, that we have premium users in French Polynesia. I've been to the Caribbean. Where did I go? I played chess tournament Curacao, and I went to some places. I've been to Jamaica, the Caymans, but not to French Polynesia, which probably is not in the Caribbean. So maybe I want to stop saying that. And in this game, I'll go with 7d5. What do they call this? Is this the Petrosian variation? Not quite sure. Normally I play bishop e3 and lose, but once in a while you gotta mix it up, and 7d5 is an interesting strategic approach. Knight a6, I believe normally they go h6 first to determine where this bishop is going. Well, now I can go, or I thought I can go knight d2, and if h6 I'll go bishop e3, and I can't be bothered by knight g4 anymore, which struck me as a good thing to do. We'll see how Coconut adjusts to the new reality. I'm wondering if he's sitting on the beach, like with his laptop. Why not play some chess while drinking some cocktails and enjoy a little Banter Blitz? Probably not, probably he's at work. In maybe the Paul Gauguin Museum or the Robert Van Perl Museum? I don't have a clue, but it does sound like a good place to go. Knight g8, this is a sensible strategic plan. He's preparing f5 or maybe bishop h6 to exchange bishops. Does look a bit time consuming though, and I shall use that time to expand on the queen side of the board. He does go f5. Is there a threat? Like, is my poor bishop in danger? Like h6? I'm a little worried my bishop might be in danger, so I shall create some escape routes for him. By the way, where do you guys stand on the route versus root controversy? I understand both pronunciations are legit, but I never know which one to use. In German it's Route, which of course is not a German word, so I guess I lean towards root, but I say route, so I really don't know. Is it a US English thing? I think even in the US you can say both and no one really knows which one's right. Probably I shouldn't ask questions and then ignore the chat, because I'll never see an answer. By the way, if you're confused which chat I'm referring to, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm talking about the chat on chess24.com, where dudes are hanging out in real time while I'm actually doing this. And sometimes I interact with them. Sometimes I forget all about it. But it's good to have some company, even at this weird hour. It's 2 p.m., I got stuff to do later. And I believe there's other shows on later as well. So I thought, why not do an early morning Banter Blitz? Because 2 p.m., let's face it, is very, very early morning. Coconut took on e4, which normally makes the structure a little less aggressive. You can do that while my king is still stuck in the center, if you want to exploit it with an early knight g4 or something, but that doesn't seem to be on the cards here. So I like my position strategically. I can just castle, and I'm not going to run into this typical King's Indian attack, f4, g5, g4, and so on. Therefore, things are looking good. He should, try to stop me from castling, which he does by going knight d7. But I'm still a happy camper here. c6 comes into consideration, but this looks easier. Takes a knight c4, targeting d6. And I was going to say preparing knight b5 to go after this pawn, but after queen e7, knight b5 would be a bit of a mistake because of queen h4 check, followed by queen takes e4. So can't do that. I'll go queen d2, not really targeting this pawn because once again there would be queen h4 check, but it looked like a useful thing to do. And wait for Coconut's move. At some point I want a castle, so I might have to go bishop f3 and then follow it up with castles, because it's a little annoying to have the king in the center. Once again, Coconut's playing well, but he's taking his time. That's the part of Banter Blitz that many people underestimate. I am very, very willing to flag you. In fact, delighted to flag you. So don't use all your time, because it might come back to haunt you later in the game. Go away. This queen on h3 is too far in my business for comfort. Can I take? The King's Indian, sometimes my greedy instincts do get punished, but this looked like a spot where I can safely take Queen f3, Bishop g2. Doesn't seem to be all that dangerous, and Knight b6 is another gift. I do enjoy gifts. My birthday's coming up, so I'm very excited about all the gifts, because the older you get, the more gifts you get. And now it's the other way around. I actually won't get stuff, and I'll just be miserable. Wondering where the time has gone. How can I be so old? What have I done the last 15 years? I've played some Banter Blitz, but will people really remember all the Banter Blitz? Shouldn't I have done something useful? Planted a tree. That kind of stuff. I don't know. Let's crush Asama from España. d4 does strike me as a sensible move. I'll go Knight f3, just if he goes g6, which I know these aggressive Spaniards, they like to play g6. I want to play one of my boring pet systems, the move Knight bd2. Bit of a dumb move, but after Bishop g7, e4 does take King's Indian players out of the comfort zone. Well, if they go d5, you have this little setup, which I kind of enjoy, to play b4, e3, Bishop b2, Bishop e2, then c4. And it leads to a more positional game than a lot of these aggressive King's Indian Grunfeld guys are accustomed to. So I believe it's quite a playable line, and I like to employ it randomly. Of course, it doesn't really give you an advantage objectively or any of that stuff, but it's playable and, as mentioned, takes some guys a bit out of their comfort zone sometimes. The move orders are interchangeable here. You can start with c4, you can start with Bishop e2, everything has pros and cons. But in general, this is what white wants. Bishop e2, short castles, and then probably expand on the queen side. But things will depend heavily on circumstances. a6, I'm not sure what he's preparing. Bishop g4 makes sense, just exchanging this bishop, which wasn't doing very much. I'll continue to grab some space. Put my queen on b3 and try to make something happen. Black is solid, but still can't be too unhappy about the outcome of the opening. White should be slightly better here. Queen b3 was a little careless. I should have gone h3 first. Yeah, that was ridiculous. Because now knight e4 is annoying. Okay, we've rectified that situation. Still, was a little careless. Well, now, yeah. White is just a little better. Solid structure. Knight f8, I'm not sure where this knight is headed. So happy to see that. And I want to open the position, but I don't want to exchange too many rooks. So I'll start with rook c1. Just trying to make him nervous about cd5, which I don't want to play though. Now it feels like it's time to open things up a little bit with b5. See what happens. Some people are disputing my claim that 2 p.m. is early morning. Route. American English is route. Okay, thanks for that update. So I'll go with route. I believe my English, of course, if we forget about the massive German accent, it's more rooted in American English, because most of the TV and podcasts and nonsense influences that I have are from the US and A. Not sure about it though. I just say words randomly. Like recently I learned there's a difference between further and farther, which I was not aware of. Might also be a UK-US thingy, but I've used them synonymously and apparently they aren't. Let's get rid of queens, because I have a feeling I'm very blundery today, and the less queens on the board, the less queens you can blunder. 95, just targeting this dude. I have some tricks, not really up my sleeve, but in mind, around cd5 and knight c6 stuff. Should calculate it for a second, but it looked like this should yield me an exchange. Because if, let's say, rook a8, this check is a little inconvenient, and this is a threat that is very hard to parry otherwise. Here my stomach is grumbling a little bit. It's weird. So early in the morning, the dude should not be hungry. But might be time to get some lunch, dinner, supper after this game. No, not after this game, after the show. King h7, I shall grab. Is there a difference? Rook c8 or knight c8? Ah, no, I'll go knight c8. Put this knight on d6, where it looks nice and active, attacking f7. Rook a2 is not massive amount of counterplay because of bishop f3, when I have all the key squares under control for now, so things are looking pretty good. Yeah, my Larry David impersonation is pretty lousy. I won't work on it though. Yeah, this game is more or less decided, not only because of my tremendous flagging ability, but also because I'm in exchange and a pawn up, which should help. This knight is a little too close for comfort, and I don't mind exchanging it should we come to a mutual agreement about trading that knight for his bishop and a couple of his pawns. Let's make an active move for a change. Get a little check here. Could be useful in the very near future. That very near future is now. Asama resigns because checkmate was imminent within the next 2 moves. Thanks for the game. What time is it? Oh, I'm only 45 minutes in. Feels like I've been doing this forever. No offense meant whatsoever. Let's play someone else. Incredibly strong 2600 dude called Nom Dunip. Where's he from? Armenia. His Levon Aronian as his profile pic. I hope it is not the actual Levon Aronian. What happened there? Hang on. What's going on? Did I? I'm sorry. I messed up the board size. There we go. Panicked there for a second. Anyway, we transposed into one of the biggest positions out there. dc4, bishop e7, bishop b4, c6, all legit moves. Against bishop e7, I normally go for this system with bishop f4, e3, knight bd7, a trendy move. c5 is the main line, but it leads to a position too close for my liking. So in this game, I shall go with a3, which used to be popular, but after c5, they found ways to more or less equalize. Therefore, it went a bit out of fashion, but Nom Dunip doesn't want to go c5, goes c6, which should lead to a position where I am a tiny bit better. Bishop d3, you could certainly make a case for taking on d5 immediately. I'll do it now before he takes on c4 and follows it up with c5, which often comes close to equalizing. This position, while not being the most exciting one known to man, should be slightly better for white. Not sure how to arrange my pieces. I'll put my queen here. As I said, not sure about that. You can certainly make a case for putting the queen on e2 as well, but queen b3 makes some sense. Or at least I would hope so. Knight e4, looks like there might be some action on the c file in the future. So let's put a rook there. c8, fair enough. And I believe one maneuver they sometimes do in these positions is to play knight a2, trying to fight for the c file, and maybe play knight b4, targeting a6 and potentially fighting for the c6 square. We'll see how it goes. I'm not claiming to be winning, but I'm trying to make half sensible moves, because those are better than fully sensible moves. Bishop d6, that once again awakens the pawn grabber in me. That dude never really sleeps. He does like grabbing pawns. Not sure if this was the best I could do, but it did win me a pawn, so it did make me happy. Queen f6, many options. Queen e3 is a solid move. Knight e5 is certainly possible. I'll go with knight e5, it does look like a decent move. Good news is this rook on c1 is defended, so you can't go rook c1, queen f4. And if he has to take and go back to d8, then I do not see a lot of compensation for the missing pawn. Therefore, yeah, I would not be all that upset. That's what happened. Let's exchange here. If queen takes rook c1, occupies the c file. Bishop takes, I'll go rook c1 anyway. Now, where do I want this knight? I can grab a pawn. Why don't you guys tell me stuff like that? No, don't tell me stuff like that. No cheating. But I could grab a pawn and I almost didn't see it, which really would have been a massive shame for this school of pawn grabbery that we're running over here. f6, he's logically trying to create some counterplay, but it should not be all that much. Do I take? Then queen takes could be a little Little annoying. Okay, I'll go back. 2 pawns are enough. I can retreat without shame. Maybe some shame. Speaking of shame, I know I was gonna give Game of Thrones spoilers. I promise not to, I believe. So, no spoilers. Time is a little low, and I have a feeling Nom Dunip is a pretty fast player, so I have to speed up a little bit. I could grab another pawn with Queen b8, Queen b6. Will I be able to restrain myself? Nope. Just like pawns too much. So tasty. Time to make a passive move to keep all my hard-earned possessions. And yeah, 3 pawns are 3 pawns. So if nothing too crazy happens, I should be in good shape. And I also have knight d7 picking up more material if that turns out to be convenient. Nom Dunip does say nice smashing and does resign. Thank you for the game, Nom Dunip. Yeah, the structure is a little better for white, but of course, one big factor was him going bishop d6, giving me a pawn, because I have this intermediate move. And from here, yeah, things get a lot harder. Thanks for the game. My clock disappeared? Something happened? I panicked at some point when I thought I had the board wrong. I'll fix it for the next one. Sorry about that. I had lots of time, of course. Let's find a new challenger. What about our friend Melaris from Greece? Oh yeah, my clock is gone. Where did it go? I did this? Sorry about that. I had lots and lots of time. I'll go e4. The Pirts. Not my favorite opening, but a playable one. Yeah, a little concerned about this Austrian attack thingy normally. Bishop d3 is sort of a clever move because it makes it harder for black to go c5. If you start with knight f3, c5 is one of the main lines. Well, in this order, black normally has to go for knight a6, and you get this Benoni adjacent position after c5, d5, which is fully playable for both sides, but I do believe that it should be a little nicer for white. Having said all that, I don't really know any theory. Queen e1, queen h4 strikes me as a typical plan, but my timing could be off. I'm not sure yet. Knight b4 could indeed be a bit of a problem. I'll pretend like it's all part of the plan, put my queen on h4 and see what happens. Strange position already. The caveman plan of course is to go rook h3, e5, queen h7 checkmate, but I have a feeling I won't be allowed to do all these things. I can try though. He wants queen h3, rook h3, queen g4 I guess. No, I don't want that to happen, so I'll go f5, which is a little risky positionally because it gives up the e5 square, but since his queen just went to d7, the knight can't get there all that quickly. And in the meantime, I'll try to build up a bit of an initiative, somehow. Not sure how. Put my pieces over here and see what happens, pretty much. But Melaris is playing a good game. I have to find a way to checkmate him. Rook h3 should come sooner or later. Probably sooner. Yeah, it's time. Time to start some more aggressive operations. h5 is probably forced. And I thought knight f4 would increase the pressure a little bit. Calculating face. I was wondering about stuff like knight h7, but it shouldn't work. Maybe bishop e7 is okay. He goes c4, not all that concerned about my cruel intentions. All right. Can I take, or am I blundering anything? No, it doesn't look like. So I'll take and then think about what we've done. Rook f7. I'll just keep taking things, I guess. Oh no, I should be careful about bishop f6, queen h5, bishop d4. But I could think about bishop f6, rook f6. Ef queen h5 and rook f6, also queen h5. Yeah, looks interesting. Let's see what happens. Okay, Larry's taking his time here. Yeah, the one thing for me to avoid is bishop takes, queen takes h5, which looks very strong until you spot bishop d4, king h1, rook takes f1, checkmate. So I pretty much have to, or I pretty much want to, give up an exchange on f6. And I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be. Actually, I'm not happy about it, because I just spotted bishop f6, rook f6, ef6, and after queen h5 he would have rook h7, which would be bad news. While now I can take on h5, threatening queen h7 checkmate, and there is no bishop d4 for me to worry about. So ef6 was a mistake. Well, bishop f6 would have left the game. Kind of unclear. There might be a way for me to win, but it wouldn't have been obvious, at least to me. And yeah, now it's a different story, because I can pick up an exchange. There's no real play. And things should get ugly pretty soon. Not sure I have a clean solution, but if in doubt, one can always take a pawn or two and then take it from there. e4 is covered, so this doesn't work for Melaris, who played a good game, but yeah. Instead of ef6, bishop f6 was much more challenging. Thanks for the game, Melaris. He posted a smiley there. And yeah, coming back to this, bishop f6, you have to go for this, because queen h5, as mentioned, bishop d4 check is kind of bad news for me. So I would have to take here, and then what I missed was that after ef queen h5 there is this move rook h7, forcing me to either exchange things, which would lead to a bad endgame, or do something clumsy. Maybe there are tricks, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I can do this. Queen e7, queen g4 check, picking up the rook, but it would have led to an exciting position. This seems to work, but obviously I didn't see it in advance at all. So thanks for the game, Melaris. Who's next? What about Victs? 2349, another strong player. A lot of strong premium members out there. I like to think they became so strong since they became premium members. I'm not sure that's the case, but I do believe that there's a lot of useful information on this Chess24 site to improve your chess. Goes for the King's Gambit. I normally, yeah, let's go g5. Let's see what he's got. The solid line is d5, ed, knight f6, which is also perfectly reasonable. But with my pawn grabbing instincts, I'm always very strongly attracted to just defending this pawn, keeping it there. I believe there's been some debates in these forums, these dark places of the internet, where people meet to discuss King's Gambit theory, stuff like that. I haven't really followed them. I don't believe in the King's Gambit, but I haven't updated my theoretical knowledge on it for a while. My theory is, yeah, you do whatever, keep this extra pawn, and you'll be a pawn up. I'm sure a theory here, g3 maybe, but I don't believe in any of it. Maybe they go c3 too. Not a clue. Knight c3 also looks reasonable. I'll go knight c6, prepare, maybe bishop g4. Pawn up, nothing to worry about. I guess white should consider bishop b5 pinning this knight when I have a choice between bishop d7 or just a6. Clarifying the situation. As usual, King's Gambit aficionados, don't write me angry letters pointing out all the exciting options here. Just giving my opinion. You're giving up a pawn on the second move. How good can that be? Typical idea is to go g3, trying to undermine me. He goes bishop b5, the other move I did mention. So I'll go bishop d7, I guess. a6 is also perfectly fine, I believe. Allowing this bishop c6, bc. It's no big deal at all. But since he did spend an extra tempo on bishop b5, bishop d7 looked like a move I can't get away with. I have to decide what I want to do against g3. Rook e1, he's playing for e5. Do I want to allow that? Does that bother me? Neither. Let's ask this bishop. Quo vadis? If takes an e5, I have many playable moves. Knight e7, d5, even de5. Well, if bishop a4, I'm not sure, including a6, bishop a4 accomplished anything for me, but I thought it could be nice to have this option of going b5, breaking the pin. And I guess I should try to block the e-file now that he's played rook e1. Knight e7 looks like a more natural development than knight f6, preparing for a potential e5 breakthrough. The only problem I have is my queen would like to get out of the way, so I can castle queenside, but after rook e1 even kingside castles does not look out of the question at all, so I'm reasonably satisfied with my position. As I should be, because my opponent played the king's gambit. I'll castle and see what happens. Knight takes d4 might be a threat now. Grabbing another pawn. Can be parried with c3 though, in fairness. So yeah, I did not expect that threat to yield massive dividends. Still, one should never give up hope of grabbing another pawn. Not sure about knight g6, but since this knight can't go to d5 anymore, feels like it makes sense to vacate the e-file, maybe put the queen on e7 or e8. Target e4. Blah, blah, blah. See what happens. I'll go here. Queen e8 might be sneakier because it might threaten knight takes d4, but it does look a little unnatural, and I was expecting him to go bishop c2 anyway, so I didn't see what benefits that would give me. Now I'm attacking this guy, bishop c2. I'll start thinking about f5 and then probably blitz it out, because I did think about it for like 8 seconds. That's probably wasn't 8 seconds, but I did think about it. That's the MO in Banter Blitz. But I like my position. This is a check. Which bishop e6 would parry? d5, there's knight e5, so I'm not losing a piece. Well, positionally, my situation has improved, including all these thingies. Or at least I would hope so. Queen b4, I would guess. I could start thinking about making aggressive moves like f3, or I could just keep playing boringly like bishop c8. And you guessed it, that is my choice. Not sure about bishop c8 though, maybe I should have done something more active, but still I am quite content about my position. Knight d4 looks like the most sensible move, and he does that. Don't you hate it when your opponents make the most sensible moves? Still need a way to punish him for his many, many sins. High sparrow style. This now after bishop e4, he gets some light squares, so there's actually some hint of compensation, which I'm not in favor of. Therefore, I'll start a vicious attack to make that compensation disappear instantly. g4, I'm intending to go queen h4 and checkmate him. Not sure that's gonna work, but I will certainly try. Still have a good position, even though I have a feeling I've misplayed it somewhat at some spot. This was the plan, might as well stick to it. Bishop d2, knight takes g4, when I guess queen h2 is a threat, so he would have to go knight f3, then queen f2, check king h1, and something good should happen. We'll see. Maybe queen h2 is not a big threat, but it feels like I have to be threatening something, right? Queen h2, knight e3. Something has to be in the air. And now for the finale grande, which of course I haven't seen, but I have a feeling it should be there. Nope, still don't see it. Still have a feeling it was there. This threatens knight f2, but it doesn't feel like the most precise way to wrap this game up. Just as precise is not the most precise word, even though it took me a while to come up with it. Okay, this makes things easier because I don't have to checkmate, but I can switch to grabbery. Takes if rook e4, knight f2, and knight e4. Well, if bishop e1, I had, amongst other things. Just to be annoying, I'll repeat moves once. Now I believe I'm just a piece up for precious little compensation, and my clock situation is quite favorable as well, so things are looking pretty good against Victor double Z, or double Z as the English like to say. And Vix resigns. Interesting game, horrible opening, but thanks for it anyway. Aussie boy started watching from the very beginning, is jumping in on the root route discussion. Thanks for the feedback, Aussie boy. I'll play another strong opponent. I choose randomly, it's just that these strong names appear on my screen here. What are you gonna do about it? Thrawn, 2-4-51. 3-minute game. The stronger the guys, the less time they want to play, because they know I'm talking nonsense, so they feel that increases their chances to flag me. And maybe rightly so, but I'm not easily flagged. He goes for the 2 knights tango, whatever this is called. The main advantage of it is it's less dumb than it looks. It's kind of playable, and I'm transposing into a line of the queen c2 Nimzo that I consider to be kind of playable, or slightly favorable for white as well. Queen e7 is what they normally do here, when I can never decide which line I want to play. So I'll randomly choose one. What was I supposed to do here? Take some bishop e2? Can't remember a thing. I have a feeling this is not the most ambitious approach I've chosen, and he's close to equality after a move like bishop g4, or a5 is fine as well. Now what to do? It's always a big question if a4 is a positional threat here or not. I've decided to allow it, and it might come back to haunt me. We'll find out. I do have the 2 bishops and a bit of a lead in development, so things can't be too terrible. But of course, with this pawn fixing my queenside structure, it's not so easy to make progress in the near future. I'll go fishing for some concessions. Bishop f3, target b7. See how he wants to react. After e4, I can probably take on f6. Well, bishop c6 would of course spoil his pawn structure quite a bit. So let's see how Thrawn plans to react to that. Probably should go something passive like rook ab8. When the ball is back in my little home court, he does go bishop c6. Interesting decision. But these pawns look so broken that I will just claim a small advantage here at least. Not sure what to do next, so I'll probably go rook d2, try to double here. See what happens. This dude is a little weak, which is annoying. Maybe I should have thought about that before going rook d2, because he could target it with queen c5. But not all is lost. Queen d3 if nothing better pops up. Weird position, but how can it not be better? He has all these islands. Goes g6. He's asking me politely to go away, and I shall oblige. No reason yet to worry about Mr. c4 pawn. But now there is. So once again, player more inclined to do any kind of planning would probably have not played rook d1. Yeah, that was a bit ridiculous. Can't see anything better than going passive, allowing knight e4, which really wasn't part of the plan. I might still be slightly better, but his position has improved way more than mine over the last couple moves. Yeah. Rook d8 before it's too late. I'll get my bishop out of the way. To have this rook cover c4. Small cuffing problem on the horizon. Knight c5, whatever. Yeah, I'm playing very strange moves. Between you and me, I'm still alright, but I clearly haven't put the amount of pressure that I should have put given his slightly dodgy opening choice. Now I guess queen d7 is best, and we're gonna end up playing that endgame where I might be slightly better, I might not be. We'll find out. Queen d6, that's even better. Why didn't I spot queen d6 but only queen d7? That's a bit pathetic. What to do? Yeah, not sure I have anything here. Probably time to bring my king into the action, but for now Thrawn has kind of outplayed me, and yeah, I really do not have an edge in this position, I'm afraid. Because my queenside has very limited career options, while he has this 4 against 3 majority on the king side. So things aren't looking great. As usual, the clock situation is nice, but that might not be enough. If I keep making dumb moves, I could end up in real trouble here. I don't think I should be worse yet, but I'm certainly not impressed. Well, he kind of has. He's playing well. His knight on e6 keeps the king side together by keeping my king at bay. h6 intending to play g5, which I don't want to allow, so I'll go f4. But yeah, not so sure if this position is winnable or anything. He offered a draw, which of course, with all my flagging instincts, I have to turn down. I might also be better now after knight c5, king b5, but certainly a very good game by Thrawn, and yeah, I'm not sure where it went wrong, because I was better out of the opening, or at least I like to think so. But then I've made some weird moves around here. Probably rook a1 wasn't very challenging. Maybe it wasn't that much to begin with. Anyway, good game, Thrawn. We still have time for like 2-3 games, so let's continue. Why does my screen look so weird? I don't know. Let's play a new guy called Kasparov fan. As debates is dropping some knowledge. That's how you win against Jan an endgame. Yeah, but you gotta be sure not to be flagged in that endgame. That's very important. And you gotta get there. But yeah, it's not the strongest part of my game. I'm very willing to admit that. Kasparov fan goes for bishop b5. I'll play a bit of an offbeat system, which you should not repeat at home. Bishop c5 has some theoretical issues after c3 followed by d4. Castle's knight d4 is kind of playable, even though it's much riskier than doing it a move later in these anti-Berlins. Knight f6, d3, bishop c5. There, it's a better line. But even here, it doesn't lose. I've played this in a tournament game against, whom did I play against? Against Maciej, I believe. I didn't enjoy myself that much, I have to admit, but it is kind of playable. Kasparov fan does not really play like Kasparov. He plays more solidly, let's say, exchanging the queens early on. When, of course, yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the white position, but it's hard to play for a win like that. Let's see if this is the endgame the doctor's ordered to beat me. I don't think so. These endgames I'm decent at. As long as there's enough pieces on the board I can shuffle around. Just when I start running out of pieces, then I'm not enjoying myself all that much. But here, yeah, I can go knight c5, b5, start grabbing a bit of space here and there. Things shouldn't be too bad. Gotta get the timing right. Knight c5, knight c4. Yeah, I don't like it. b5, the promise you can go a4 and simplify further, which is also not that exciting. But can't have everything. Sometimes with black, you have to deal with an equal position out of the opening and then try to grind your way home from there. That's what I'm intending to do. I guess knight f1, when I have to yet again decide what to do. He goes a3, that allows me to grab things, which I enjoy doing greatly. I guess Kasparov fan did miss this little trick. Rook d2 followed by knight takes b3, when I'll emerge a full piece up all of a sudden. So that's a bit of a lucky break there. a3 did not help his chances. We can exchange all the rooks because I have an extra piece that should get the job done. This is not the kind of endgame you want. Kasparov is admirably trying to block the position, but a piece is a piece. It's gonna be very hard to block it all out. Yeah, it's not that exciting. I'm gonna bring my king over here, then use my bishop to attack the e4 pawn and take more things. So the conversion is not particularly difficult. And you wouldn't expect it to be, because I'm a whole bishop up. Therefore, Kasparov fan does resign. Thanks for the game, Kasparov fan. All right. Gotta find somebody else. Challenge from a FIDE master who's not a premium member. Not gonna be able to do it. Sorry about that. Let's play another noob. Shandor Farcash, number 1272. That does look like a Facebook name. So I won't make fun of it, because I believe that's just his real name and the number he got assigned on Facebook. I'll play the Caro-Kann instead. Be solid, play nice and slow, stick to main lines, don't do anything crazy. See how that goes for us. Here's e5, the main move. I'll play bishop to f5, the main line as well. Knight f3, e6 is what they normally do here, bishop e2. And I was in Leuven recently, doing commentary on the Grand Chess Tour, where I couldn't help but notice the game between Anish Giri and Magnus Carlsen, where Magnus Carlsen met bishop e2 with bishop b4 check, and I was willing to repeat that line, but Shandor does go bishop d3. That changes things a bit, so I'm gonna have to get rid of the bishops, which in general strategically should favor me. Still, they do this sometimes, but normally after having included h4, h5, so that g5 square is available. And I was taught as a young man that this maneuver is clever, queen a5, queen a6. Offering the exchange of this powerful queen and reaching an endgame where I do have the right bishop for the pawn structure. So that's what young Jan learned. I'm not sure if that wisdom is still relevant today, but I'll roll with it. Time to get my pieces out. This knight on a6 is of course not ideal, but it should find something useful to do at some point. Knight a3 is a move I quite like. If c5 he wants to go knight b5. Therefore I might have to do something else. Not sure where this knight is placed best. After knight f5 he can just go g4, so I didn't really see a great future for it there. I'll just develop a little bit and then decide if f6 or c5 is the correct pawn break under the circumstances. He goes b4, seems like he wants to make that decision for me. Make c5 as hard as possible. It's a little double-edged, because if I go for c5, let's say after b6, c5, could be some targets along the c-file all of a sudden. And I will entertain that idea for sure. He wants to push my knight all the way to h8. I don't want that to happen, so I'll go h5. And now you've convinced me. I'll go f6. You've worked too hard to provoke it. e6 pawn, the e6 pawn, has become a little weak, so I'll go for king f7. Next move, just to cover it. And then decide what to do. In general, I like my position. I have a lot of pawns in the center. And sooner or later, they could become a force to be reckoned with. This structure also looks quite nice for me. The h5 pawn is holding up the g3, h4 pawn. Well, e5 or potential things in the center are always on the agenda, but of course it is much easier to just grab things. And if in doubt, I will always go for grabbing the pawns. Knight a3, bit of a mistake because his knight is on praise after cd4. He spotted that in time, went knight b5, trying to fix that misstep. But it gave me a valuable pawn, which I will cling on to. Never noticed that cling on to includes the word Klingon. probably that's not very relevant. Also not so easy to hang on to my pawn, I'm just realizing. Which is a pity. Shandor played a clever move here, bishop d4. I might have to part ways with my a7 pawn. I will ask for the a4 pawn in return though. But seriously, his position is not so easy. Rook fc1, knight a4, rook c7 maybe. I have to be a little careful. Knight a7 should make my life a little easier. Because now I can take without fearing too many repercussions. At least that's what I am hoping will happen. And this 4 against 3 should give plenty of winning potential, because the d4 pawn is a passed pawn that is pretty hard to stop. Not sure if I should spend a move on stopping rook b7 check or if I should just run. Nah, I'll stop at rook b7 and rook g7. Targeting this knight annoys me. That was totally ridiculous. I just blundered my d5 pawn. Oh boy. That is insane. Why would I do such a thing? That was very, very uncalled for. And yeah, even if you have noble intentions, like, let's keep... I don't know why you didn't take. Let's keep the rook out of b7. You should still make sure that you don't blunder anything. You could have taken, Shandor. What are you doing? That is a bit of a break for me once again. I don't think that's an expression. I caught a break is what I'm trying to say. Now he does give the check. I'll go forward, not back. Yeah, now I'm in pretty good shape, but of course just rook takes d5. Mysterious events. Try to keep my my pieces next to each other, so nothing too bad can happen. Feeling very blundery, so I gotta pay attention. King e2. I don't know what I'm thinking about. I'm just sitting here making weird faces. Should make a move though. Can't think of a move. Total blackout time. Unable to execute any move on the board. Has this ever happened before? Probably has. You can go rook h7 once again, trying to win that pawn back, but then I should be in time to do something active. Not quite sure what. Rook c3, d3 check maybe. See what happens. King d1, but that's not a very pleasant square for Her Majesty. Because now mating threats begin to appear, like this one. Pity for Shandor, who played a good game. I played a bad game. This knight c5 was pretty much madness. Allowing rook to b5, and of course here after knight e4 he had to take. Like, I'll still try rook c8, rook c2, whatever, but obviously I should have grabbed that. You should have grabbed that pawn. One second, check. Oh, no, you guys aren't supposed to see this. But you've seen it. Okay, moving on. Problem with the good old stream again? Not sure. We shall continue the action. A lot of challenges, even at this weird time of day. Appreciate it. Let's see. Who's new? A lot of noobs. Prunarov, number 99. I believe that's gonna be the last game of the day, and we've reached our 90 minutes. Apologies, I didn't manage to play everybody, not even everybody new, which is of course good news. We have a lot of new members, and I am trying to do as many of these shows as possible so I can crush you all, and hopefully more than once. But yeah, it's always tough to play everybody because I do have a lot of challenges. Prunarov 99, 1862 from, is that Mexico? I'm slowly learning flex through this show, but I'm still not particularly good at them. So apologies for that as well. I believe we're gonna do all our apologies at the end of the show, because there's always a lot to be sorry about. He plays his move d4, which at the highest level is more or less supposed to be a drawing line. Therefore, black has to, in order to play for a win, find a way to avoid that. Here you can play the move knight c3, which after knight takes e4 leads to some funny complications that objectively do not favor white though. So you don't see this move much. You normally see bishop d2 or even knight bd2, which are both quite playable, but don't really lead to an edge. Knight e4 castles, bishop takes c3, d5 is, what's this called? Is that the Muller attack? I always mix up all these names, but I do know theory. And bc is not the critical test. White should go d5, because now I can play d5 with tempo and then castle out of the way and enjoy my extra pawn. And you all know I do enjoy a good extra pawn. Shouldn't get too greedy here. Knight c3 would have been a little excessive after, let's say, queen e1 check followed by bishop a3, but just castle and black's opening problems are pretty much over. Queen c2. And I'll cover this dude. The usual discussions, how to get a game. Can't guarantee you guys. I choose very, very randomly in order to make it happen. I don't go through the order of challengers or the order of challengers reversed or whatever. I'm just trying to play as many as I can. But can't play you all the time. I know it's sad. Here I'm a pawn up. I have to take a little care to stabilize. In general, I've been even more superficial than I normally am today. Knight h4. I think I've won all my games, but I've come to the verge of disaster in more than one. c4 seems to help my cause, though, because I can exchange this bishop with tempo, and maybe, just maybe, I can pick up more pawns. How do I do that? Knight f2 looks possible. Knight d6 and taking on c4 also looks possible. Yeah, I'll play it safe. 2 pawns are enough. Don't need 3 pawns or 5 pawns. Just 2 extra pawns. That's all I want. Actually, you can go queen a3 and then take on a7, which would technically make it only 1 extra pawn. And had I seen that, I might have chosen a different move, but my position is still extremely pleasant because the c-pawn is fast and furious. Takes there. All right, I guess CD. Good news about this exchange is that now there's no more knight e5 to worry about, so I can focus my efforts on pushing Caesar towards the sex change on c1, because I'm not going to get a rook. I'll get a whole queen for Caesar. You'll see. Not quite sure how to get that done yet, but I'll work on it. Oops. It's not going to be so easy to push this dude past the finish line, so I might have to combine my efforts with whatever, an attack on the king or something. And before I start doing any of those things, I make a little loof for my own king, so I don't have to worry about queen a8 check. But now might be a good time to switch to attack mode. Knight b3. Maybe here. If f3, I should be able to take queen f3, and bad things should happen to the king. While g3, even bishop h1 becomes a strong candidate. So yeah, things are bad for Prunarov because with the c2 pawn, his movement is just way too restricted and the end is near. King f1 seems to be the only way to avoid immediate disaster, but I'm not sure for how long it can be avoided. Queen g2 is still a pretty powerful threat here. Can't help you with that one, buddy, even if I wanted to, which I do not want to at all. I wouldn't be able to, and Prunarov 99 resigns because queen g2 checkmate is extremely hard to stop. That brings us to the end of our show today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let's get to the final section, which I like to call I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not being able to play everybody. I'm sorry for all the wins on time and the blunders, the arrogant blunders in the final stage of the game. I'm sorry for the lack of movie references and movie criticism because I haven't watched any movies. I'm sorry for the mild Game of Thrones spoilers. I'm sorry for potential streaming problems you might have experienced while watching this show, or you might not have experienced, but I'll just apologize in case you did. I am sorry for not being able to do a show tomorrow or over the weekend, because I'll be out of the country. But I'll be back on like Tuesday. And what else am I sorry for? Sorry for not wearing a tie. I'm sorry for not showing enough skin, but I believe you guys should be quite happy with that. I am also very sorry about the technical issues we might have had yesterday during the show. I'm sorry for not having gotten a haircut in quite a bit. I'm sorry for the excessive plugging of the Chess24 premium membership, but we do need premium memberships to keep the lights on here, to keep doing what we're doing, all the tournament broadcasts, all the video series, the Banter Blitzes, the programming, behind all the features of the site, all that good stuff costs money. Therefore, go premium if you like Chess24, and I do believe it's a very good investment if you want to improve your chess. And I'm also sorry for always looking so sleepy. I have this Richard Gere thing where I have way too much skin above my eyes. Therefore, my eyes always look half closed, even though I'm very, very sharp and awake today. I'm sorry for all the apologizing, and I believe that wraps up the show. Enjoy your weekend, your Friday, your whatever you're doing, whatever time zone you're in. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.